All right, let's talk about why something as simple as small talk can sometimes feel like, well, a massive weight. It's a feeling so many of us have, but we can't quite put a name to it. Today, we're going to unpack the psychology behind exactly that.
Have you ever been at a party, or maybe a work event, and it feels like you're lifting heavy weights? Seriously? Everyone else is just chatting away, laughing. But for you, just keeping that conversation afloat feels like this monumental effort. Does that sound familiar at all? So you're doing the whole thing, right? You're nodding, you're smiling, but inside your head, you are just counting down the seconds until you can get out of there and be alone. And look, if you've ever felt that, it's not because you're antisocial or you're being difficult. No, there's something way deeper happening under the surface.
So what is that something deeper? Well, it really all boils down to your brain just being on high alert. See, for a lot of us, a simple conversation isn't just a conversation. It's more like a high-stakes performance, and it's being run by this super watchful nervous system.
And there's actually a term for this state. It's called hypervigilance. Now, this is way more than just, paying attention. It's like your brain is running a constant background security check, scanning every little social cue, every shift in emotion for any sign of trouble. It's a survival mechanism that's basically working overtime when it really doesn't need to be.
So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, it means your brain is basically running on emergency power. You're not just hearing the words someone is saying. Oh no. You're analyzing every tiny shift in their tone of voice. You're overthinking your own facial expressions. Does my smile look fake? And you're trying to predict any possible conflict before it even happens. It is an absolutely exhausting amount of work.
You know the best way to describe this feeling? It's like your brain has way too many tabs open at once. By the time you finish just 10 minutes of small talk, your mind is totally fried from processing the conversation, the lights, the noise, literally everything. And we all know what happens when you run a computer with too many tabs open for too long, right? It slows down, and then it crashes. Well, for us, for humans, that crash leads to something we can call the quiet collapse. That's that moment when the social fatigue just completely takes over.
And in this state, there's this huge gap between what other people see and what you're actually feeling. I mean, they see you nodding and smiling along, but you feel this heavy, creeping numbness. They think you're totally engaged in the conversation, but on the inside, it feels like you're carrying a lead weight, and your mind has pretty much already checked out and left the building.
Okay, and this is probably the most important thing to hear. This complete and utter exhaustion, it is not a character flaw. It is not a personal failure. What it is an emotional reflex. It's your body's way of hitting the emergency brakes to protect you, to conserve whatever tiny bit of energy you might have left.
So if this whole thing is a protective reflex, what do we do about it? How do we manage it? Well, the answer isn't to just avoid people altogether. Not at all. It's about learning how to build what you might call protective fences. It's about creating a social life that actually works for you instead of one that works against you. And here's a pretty simple but really powerful 3-step strategy to get started. Step 1, validate the feeling. Just acknowledge that this social weight is a real thing and it is perfectly okay to feel it. Step 2 is to start distinguishing between actual danger and just discomfort. This is huge because if your nervous system is wired for high alert because of past experiences, it can mistake a calm situation for a threat, just because calm feels so unfamiliar. And finally, step 3, set your fences. This is where you start engaging on your own terms and building those healthy boundaries.
And what's the goal of all this? Really, it's about moving towards a gentler social life. It's about making that shift from this constant, draining performance to a more authentic and manageable presence. Think about it this way. You are essentially building a social life that is gentler than the one that shaped you. You're actively redesigning your own social world, creating an environment that's kinder, that's more sustainable for your nervous system, maybe one that's very different from the one you grew up in.
And what's the foundation for all this change? It's self-compassion. It really is. Healing truly starts when you begin to be as tender with yourself as you are with everyone else. It's about finally giving yourself that same understanding you so easily give out to the people you care about. So, I want to leave you with a question to think about. Now that you have a name for this social weight, how do you handle it? What are some of the ways you already cope?